Hello there, peeps, and whoever you are, my friends, folks, and loved ones. Of course, we have a very beautiful this morning, and I'm inside here in my car while my wife is, of course, doing most of the favorite of women do shopping. And yes, I grabbed this opportunity to give you some inspirational message that could uplift our hope and faith and even our a journey in life. So let's start now. My question is, have you ever experienced an abrupt and uncomfortable detour in your life at one point or another? A situation that you are not so familiar because it is an act of unnatural phenomena such as delays, annoying traffic, flooding, or sometimes crime, and etc. Did you know that in a positive perspective, God is causing us to be in the middle of storm and He lets us to deal with it, and that can cause us unknown fear, and most of the times the delays in our personal goals and activities, God used it for the purpose of to redirect us to the right place and to the right people in time, right? So the story that I'm going to share with you today is very powerful, and let's named him Dr. Luke. Dr. Luke was a famous oncologist, and when we say an oncologist, he is a doctor who treats cancer and provides medical care for personnel diagnosed with terminal cancer. So to continue the story, one day he flew from New York to an important medical meeting conference in another city in Southern California, and most of them famous medical dignitaries all over the world are waiting to meet him in person in that conference. Why? Because in that place where he was to be awarded a medical Nobel Prize, recognition for being one of the best doctors in his generations alive. But situation comes. However, an hour after the takeoff, there was an emergency landing at the nearest airport, and then trying to catch up with the time appointment, the doctor rented a car and went navigating south through the conference. Shortly after he drove out somewhere, heading on the south, the weather turned so bad, and it's so bad that the storm rolled in with strong winds and ice ball blocks of hails due to this heavy downpouring rain. And of course, the internet signal disappeared in the navigator that he is using. His directions on the road turned the wrong way and got lost in a remote area. So what comes next? After 2 hours of driving, he realized he was lost. He was hungry and tired as hell. So he decided to find somewhere to crash down to buy food, but instead he came across to a tiny countryside house, desperate and so annoyed. And he got out of the car and knocked on the next door, and a pale woman opened the door. And you know what? Dr. Luke explained himself as he is a man at lost. And then he asked the old woman if he can use the landline phone in her house. But the woman told him that she did not have a phone inside, but instead she said that he could come in and wait until the weather to improve for his good. Then the hungry, wet and tired doctor accepted her offer and entered in, and not even had a chance to introduce himself because he's so worried about the delays in his most important meeting in his entire career. And then the woman served him a cup of hot tea and told him that she was going to pray somewhere in the corner of his house. Well, with grinning, Dr. Luke smiled and said that he only believed in hard work to make all things possible. Well, sitting at a table and sipping his tea, the doctor watched the woman in the dim candlelight as she's praying beside the crib. It was a covered crib. And then the doctor understood that this woman seems in need of help. So when she finished praying, he asked her, "So what exactly do you want from your God? Do you think your God will ever hear your prayer?" And then the woman smiled sadly and said, "You know what? The child in that crib is my son. who suffers from rare type of cancer. And you know what? There is only one specialized doctor, and his name is Dr. Luke, who can give a cure and medical attention for him. But unfortunately, I don't have enough money to afford him. And besides, Dr. Luke lives in the New York City, far away from here. Well, God still hasn't answered my prayer yet to answer your question. But I know God will do miracle. God will do a miracle one day. And nothing's gonna break my faith. And nothing's gonna break my faith, she said. Shocked and lost for her speech, Dr. Luke just burst into tears. He whispered and became believer to God at that moment. And he said, "Oh my goodness, the God of this woman is really great." And suddenly, a flashback plays in his mind. He remembered that everything that happened to him today, like a malfunction in the plane, that the torrential floods from the rain that caused him to get lost and astray, and all this happened because God not only answered the old woman's prayer, but also God gave him a chance to exit from the material world, and for him to detour his career to make it possible to help the poor instead, and of course to reach out less fortunate people who have nothing in their lives but prayer and faith to God. Wow, what a wonderful story, right? So the moral lessons, or the moral lesson, my friends, don't stop believing in God. He's surely orchestrating all things happening in our lives, because the Bible said in Romans chapter 8 verse 28, all things work together for good. Actually, and we know that all things work together for good to those who love God and to those who are called according to his purpose. He can use anything, anybody to provide your needs when you ask him in faith. Imagine that. And remember, Elijah was fed by the raven at the cave of Mount Horeb, and hiding from the evil Queen Elizabeth and looking to end his life, the Lord still moved to get what you needed most. This is a simple story and yet powerful. God bless you. And of course, the one, my special someone, did her great shopping today with lots of buying, and we have to go. My princess and my prince on the side.
Hi.
And of course, the owner, Queen Elizabeth. I mean, Queen Jezebel of the day.
Ba't ang bilis mo? Hindi pa ako
Bye-bye.
nakakabili tapos ka na.